Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It is September 26, 2025. We are in the New Testament book of Luke. We are going to read from chapter 18, verse 31 to 19, verse 27. Okay, so we saw that into that big block of teaching that we saw and we recognized with that chiasm idea that, hey, if we see those steps, see arguments making a step in towards another argument, and then we're seeing that argument applied as we come out, that's a chiasm, and that's a whole big block of text and a whole big lesson that we want to look at. We've come out of that. How do we know we're going to come out of that? Well, because Jesus is now going to talk about his death, so there's about as big of a change of the subject as you can, and in this case, this is the third time he's talked to them in Mark about his upcoming death, and he's very specific this time. Nothing. Okay, he just told them all about how they need to follow the narrow path, and he is not sugarcoating that narrow path. This is exactly what's going to happen to me. You need to be ready for it. And his disciples all stand around and go, hey, what's that over there? They don't get it. And what we want to see is essentially Jesus is telling them the truth, but they've got their own version of the truth locked in up here of what the Messiah is and what's going to happen and what's going to happen. So even though Jesus is plainly telling them what it is, they're not seeing it. They're stuck in what they think is going to happen. Yes, Jesus, we know all about this turning the other cheek and this and that, and you're going to go here and do this, and they're going to do this to you, but sooner or later, you're going to like flip off the coat and we're going to wipe out the Romans and restore the kingdom, just like everyone thinks the Messiah is going to do. So they're still locked in that mindset. Now, for their credit, when it turns out that what they have in their mind and what Jesus is actually going to do conflicts, they realize, I have to get rid of what I think was going to happen and stick with what Jesus told me. And they're still waiting in that room when we get to Acts to find out what Jesus has next for them. And we're going to contrast that with a story of a healing of a blind man who gets his sight. Now, the disciples had all the opportunity in the world after Jesus explains that he's going to die to question that and say, what does that mean? Why is that not matching up with what? But they don't do it. They keep quiet because they may be afraid of the answer they would get. We get a blind man, and Jesus asks him, gives him an opportunity to ask a question. What do you want? He says, cure my blindness. It's a shame that the disciples didn't say, hey, cure our blindness. Give us eyes to see what you're saying. But they don't. He does, and we see that healing. Is it a physical healing? Yes, it's probably also a spiritual healing too. And then we go from there to Zacchaeus' house, thinking about the straight and narrow and the sacrificing and being able to see and hear. And he's a tax collector. He's a sinner. People are complaining to Jesus, why are you going to a sinner's house? And Jesus shows us why he goes to the sinner's house, because as soon as he's there, Zacchaeus stands up and says, you know what? I'm not like that rich young ruler guy who asked you, how do I get to heaven? And you told him sell everything and he went away sad. I'm not even waiting for you to ask. I already given half of it away, and the only reason I'm keeping the other half is because I'm going to pay back everyone that I might have swindled 4 times what I took from them. And Jesus says, whoa, you got it. That's it. That's what I've been talking about for the last several chapters. That's what you guys need to emulate. That narrow way. I see the narrow way and I'm rushing to it. And if that means I got to get rid of everything that's encumbering me, it's gone. And he wraps it up with this parable of the minas, is what my pericope calls this. A rich young ruler is going away and he disperses 10 minas to 10 of his servants. Rich nobleman is almost always Jesus in his parables, and that fits this parable, so we're going to say that's Jesus. 9 of the servants are faithful and understand, this mine is not given to me for my own purposes. I have to use this as if my master were here and do what he would want, and he would want it to be invested or to make a profit. Now, we only see 2 of those actually show back up in our parable, but we want to see that all 8 of these did what, all 9 of them did what the master wanted, what Jesus would have wanted. And what does the minor represent? Well, it could represent the word, it could represent grace. Those both fit in here, and that's what you want to do as you're trying to decipher the parable. Okay, is that a symbol for this? Okay, well, does it make sense? Okay, that could be it. Could it be something else? Usually it's not, but sometimes it is. And I think here we're seeing the grace and the word, and they both make sense here, that Jesus has given those to his servants, which would be his followers, disciples, and other people that are claiming that they're following Jesus, and saying, take my word and do something with it while I'm gone. Take the grace I give you and do something with it when I'm gone. And again, 9 of them take that word and take that grace, and they put it out in the world, and they increase. And when the master comes, they say, look, we've increased. We knew that's what you would have done if you were here, and we did it because that's what we knew you wanted. But there's one servant, and he says, you know what? I'm just going to bear it. When you come back, I'll just hand it back to you. There you go. And that angers the Lord. We don't really necessarily like to think of Jesus as angry, but Jesus gets angry. They don't call him the Lion of Judah because he's always a lamb. And he says, you knew I didn't give it to you to be buried. What's going on? And he starts to talk about, well, I was afraid if I lost it. And he tells him, okay, if you were afraid it was going to lose, you could have just put it in a bank, and I would have at least had some interest on it. Okay? Hey, you know what? I gave you my word. You could have at least taken it and set it on out in the open somewhere where somebody could walk by and could go look at it and read it. I gave you my grace. You could have been nice to one person in line at a restaurant. That's all you had to do, and you would have satisfied what I wanted. But you didn't do that. You did nothing with the gift you were given. And if you're going to do nothing with the gift you were given, you're not one of mine. And that's what Jesus tells them. That's the point of that parable. And that's where this section is going to end. So let's go ahead and we're going to read it. Chapter 18, verse 31 to 19:27. Then he took the 12 aside, and he said to them, behold, we are going up to Jerusalem, and all things that are written by the prophets concerning the Son of Man will be accomplished. For he will be delivered to the Gentiles, and will be mocked, and insulted, and spit upon. They will scourge him and kill him, and the 3rd day he will rise again. But they understood none of these things. This saying was hidden from them, and they did not know the things which were spoken. Then it happened, as he was coming near Jericho, that a certain blind man sat by the road begging, and hearing a multitude passing by, he asked what it meant. So they told him that Jesus of Nazareth was passing by, and he cried out, saying, Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. Then those who went before warned him that he should be quiet, but he cried out all the more, Son of David, have mercy on me. So Jesus stood still and commanded him to be brought to him. And when he had come near, he asked him, saying, what do you want me to do for you? He said, Lord, that I may receive my sight. Then Jesus said to him, receive your sight. Your faith has made you well. And immediately he received his sight and followed him, glorifying God. And all the people, when they saw it, gave praise to God. Then Jesus entered and passed through Jericho. Now behold, there was a man named Zacchaeus, who was a chief tax collector, and he was rich. And he sought to see who Jesus was, but could not because of the crowd, for he was of short stature. So he ran ahead, and he climbed up into a sycamore tree to see him, for he was going to pass that way. And when Jesus came to the place, he looked up and saw him, and said to him, Zacchaeus, make haste and come down, for today I must stay at your house. So he made haste and came down and received him joyfully. But when they saw it, they all complained, saying, he has gone to be a guest with a man who is a sinner. Then Zacchaeus stood and said to the Lord, look, Lord, I give half of my goods to the poor, and if I have taken anything from anyone by false accusation, I restore it fourfold. And Jesus said to him, today salvation has come to this house, because he also is the son of Abraham, for the Son of Man has come to seek and to save that which was lost. Now as they heard these things, he spoke another parable, because he was near Jerusalem, and because they thought the kingdom of God would appear immediately. Therefore he said, a certain nobleman went into a far country to receive for himself a kingdom and to return. So he called 10 of his servants, delivered to them 10 minas, and said to them, do business till I come. But his citizens hated him and sent a delegation after him, saying, "We will not have this man to reign over us." And so it was that when he returned, having received the kingdom, he then commanded these servants to whom he had given the money to be called to him, that he might know how much every man had gained by trading. Then came the first, saying, "Master, your mina has earned 10 minas." Then he said to him, "Well done, good servant, because you have been faithful in very little, have authority over 10 cities. And the second came, saying, "Master, your mina has earned 5 minas." Likewise he said to him, "You also be over 5 cities." Then another came, saying, "Master, here is your mina, which I have kept put away in a handkerchief, for I feared you, because you are an austere man. You collect what you did not deposit, and reap what you did not sow." And he said to him, "Out of your own mouth I will judge you, you wicked servant. You knew that I was an austere man, collecting what I did not deposit, and reaping what I did not sow. Why then did you not put my money in the bank, that at my coming I might have collected it with interest?" And he said to those who stood by, "Take the mina from him, and give it to him who has 10 minas." But they said to him, "Master, he has 10 minas. For I say to you that to everyone who has will be given, and from him who does not have, even what he has will be taken away from him. But bring here those enemies of mine, who did not want me to reign over them, and slay them before me." May God bless the reading of his word, and may God bless you. Bye.